My mom forgot to book me a room. 1 hour later, they blew up my phone. The hotel lobby smelled like citrus cleaner and money. That sounds dramatic, but it's the only way I can describe it. Everything was polished, brass trim, marble floors, the kind of soft lighting that makes even tired people look like they slept 8 hours. Behind the front desk, a wall of dark wood panels held the hotel's name in gold letters. To my left, a white Christmas tree stood in the corner, with silver ornaments the size of apples. The date was Saturday, December 14th, and the lobby was full of families in neutral coats, dragging wheeled suitcases like it was a sport. I stood a little off to the side near a pillar, my backpack straps balanced evenly, my phone in my hand, and my name already typed out in the Notes app, just in case the desk clerk asked me to spell it again. I'd arrived 20 minutes before my mom. Not because I was early, because I was trained to be early. Growing up with my mother meant that being on time was optional for her and mandatory for everyone else. Being prepared was something you did so she wouldn't get stressed, and if she still got stressed, it was because you didn't do enough. She loved calling it family teamwork. It never felt like teamwork. This weekend was supposed to be a reset. That was the word she used, reset, when she called me 2 weeks earlier. "We're doing a family weekend at the Harbor Line," she said, like she was announcing a charity gala. "Your sister and I already booked. We'll have brunch, spa, the whole thing. You need it." I hadn't asked for it. I work in compliance for a mid-size medical device company. Quiet job, lots of detail. The kind of work where people assume you're boring until something goes wrong and suddenly you're the most important person in the building. I like it. I like rules. I like written policies and paper trails and things that don't shift based on someone's mood. My mother doesn't like any of those things. But when she said family weekend, what she meant was family photos. She'd been posting more lately. Family shots, matching outfits, carefully framed moments. She'd also started tagging my sister's new fiancé, Mason, in everything. Mason had a neat haircut and a clean smile, and a public social media profile full of gym selfies and grindset quotes. He was a good accessory for my mother's online life. My sister Tessa was her favorite person to show off, always had been. And me? I was fine. That's how my mother talked about me. Fine, reliable, independent, the one who never needs anything, which was her way of justifying never offering anything unless it benefited her. Still, I'd said yes, not because I wanted the weekend, but because I'd made a private promise to myself this year. I would stop arguing with people who rewrote reality for sport. I would keep my tone level. I would keep my boundaries clear. And I would only speak when I had facts. So I packed a small bag. I booked the train ticket. I took Friday off work, and when my mother texted me, "I got your room. Just Venmo me later." I didn't respond with the usual nod of suspicion. I simply replied, "Thanks. Send me the confirmation when you get a chance." She hearted the message. She didn't send anything. At 2:07 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Mom, we're almost there. Park in the garage." "Meet us in the lobby." I was already there. I typed, "I'm here," and then I waited. When my mom arrived, the air shifted the way it always does when she enters a space, like she expects the room to adjust itself around her. Her hair was curled in soft waves. She wore a cream coat with a belt tied tight at the waist, the kind of coat that makes it obvious you're not here on points or coupons. Tessa walked beside her, phone in hand, already recording something for a story. Mason trailed behind with the luggage cart, smiling at nobody in particular. My mom saw me and lifted her chin like I was one of the staff. "There you are," she said, with a brightness that didn't reach her eyes.
"Okay, let's check in."
At the desk, the clerk greeted us with a practiced smile. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with a navy tie and tired eyes. My mother gave her name like she expected applause. He typed, paused, typed again. "I have 2 reservations under that name," he said. "One suite and one king." "Yes," my mom said. "Suite for us, king for them." She nodded toward me without looking at me, like I wasn't a person, just a piece of luggage she'd assigned a room. The clerk's smile held, but his eyes flicked to his screen. "I'm not seeing a 3rd reservation," he said carefully. My mother blinked once. "There should be. My other daughter is with us. The queen room." He typed again. "I have the suite, 2 nights. And the king, 2 nights. That's it." Tessa looked up from her phone. Mason shifted his weight. My mother laughed, small and controlled, like the clerk had made a cute mistake. "That can't be right," she said. "I booked 3. "I can check under a different last name," the clerk offered. "It would be under mine," she said sharply, then softened as if she remembered where she was. "Maybe you're missing it. It's a family weekend." The clerk asked for my ID anyway, just to confirm whether I was on either reservation. I handed it over without a word. He checked. "You're not listed as a guest on either room," he said. "Do you have a confirmation number?" I already knew the answer. My mother hadn't sent one because she didn't have one. She turned to me. Now. Her expression was a mix of surprise and irritation, like I'd hidden something from her. "Didn't I forward you the email?" she asked. "It was a performance. It always is with her." I kept my face neutral. "No, I asked for it, but I didn't get anything." Her eyes narrowed for a fraction of a second. Then she looked back at the clerk with a smile that didn't belong on her face. "Oh my God," she said, hand to chest. "I must have forgotten." I was so busy coordinating everything. Tessa made a sound, half laugh, half sigh, like this was an adorable family quirk. "Moom," she said, drawing the word out. "You're such a mom." Mason chuckled. "Well, at least it's you and not me." My mother leaned slightly toward the desk, lowering her voice like she was sharing something intimate. "Is there anything you can do? She just needs a room. She can pay. She's very responsible." The clerk's eyes flicked to me again. I could tell he was used to this kind of moment, someone trying to make a missing reservation into the hotel's problem. "I can check availability," he said, "but we're close to fully booked. It's a holiday weekend," he typed. My mother's smile stayed in place. Her body language did that thing where she positions herself as the reasonable one and everyone else as the obstacle. Tessa went back to her phone, fingers moving fast. Mason looked at the lobby like he was pretending not to listen. The clerk paused.
"We do have one room left," he said. "A standard double."
"But it's perfect," my mother cut in. "It's $429 per night," he finished, "plus taxes and fees." My mother didn't flinch. But she didn't pull out her card either. She turned to me as if the numbers were my responsibility. "There you go," she said brightly. "See? It worked out. You can just book it now." I looked at the clerk. "Is there a cancellation policy?" He explained. "Full charge after 6 p.m., incidentals hold, parking not included." I nodded, taking it in. My mother's smile tightened. "Sweetie," she said, still using that soft public tone. "Just do it. We're wasting time. The spa appointment is at 4. There it was. The real urgency. Not my situation. Her schedule. I didn't argue. Arguing with my mother in public gives her what she wants. The chance to act wounded. The chance to look like the patient, one dealing with a difficult child. Instead, I opened my banking app. My balance was fine. I could afford it. But that wasn't the point. The point was that this didn't happen by accident. My mother didn't forget things that mattered to her image. She had an entire system for those things. Color-coded calendar, email folders, screenshots saved in albums titled Receipts and Proof. She'd once spent 3 days fighting with a resort because their towels weren't the right shade of white for her photos. She didn't forget to book me a room. I paid anyway because I needed a place to sleep. I paid because I wouldn't beg. I paid because I wanted the timeline clean and simple. And while I paid, I watched her. She didn't apologize. Not really. She didn't offer to cover it. She didn't even pretend she would. She just stood beside me with that look that says, "You're fine. You always handle things." When the clerk handed me the keycard sleeve, my mother patted my arm lightly, like I was a junior coworker who'd finally completed a task. "See?" she said. "All good. Now let's get upstairs. We need a picture in front of the tree." Tessa smiled at me. "You're not mad, right? It's kind of funny." Funny. My mother turned toward the lobby tree, already adjusting her coat belt, already angling her face for the lighting. I took my keycard and my ID, slid them into my wallet, and tucked my wallet into my bag. I didn't say I was mad. I didn't say it wasn't funny. I didn't say anything. But I did open my Notes app and typed a new line under the date, December 14th, 2:26 p.m. Mom claimed she booked my room. Hotel had only 2 reservations. I booked last room. $429/night. Mom present. Tessa plus Mason witnessed. Clerk, not listed as guest. Then I took a photo of the receipt on the counter while the clerk was still facing the screen, and I saved it to a folder I titled Harbor Line. My mother turned back toward me, phone already up. "Come on," she said. "Don't be weird. Smile." I met her eyes and gave her the calmest expression I could manage. "Sure," I said, and I walked with them toward the tree, carrying my own bag, letting her think she'd gotten away with it, because the truth didn't need to be said yet. Not today. Not while she still had control of the narrative. I waited for the moment she'd choose to make it public. And I already had the first receipt. The room smelled faintly of industrial laundry and lemon disinfectant. It was clean, generic, and clearly not part of the experience my mother had envisioned for the weekend.
Beige carpet.
2 double beds with identical floral duvets. A view of the parking structure instead of the water. I set my bag down by the window and took a minute before sitting. I always take a minute. It keeps me from reacting to the wrong thing. From the hallway, I could already hear my mother's voice drifting through the open door of the suite across from mine. Her volume carried when she was pleased with herself. I could tell she was already narrating the weekend, who had arrived, how busy she'd been, how everything had worked out. I closed my door quietly and locked it. At 2:41 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Mom, can you come to the suite?"
We're doing a quick family pic before spa. I didn't reply immediately.
I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled the receipt from my wallet, smoothing it out on the desk like it was a document that needed respect. Date, time, amount, room type, my name. I took another photo. Clearer this time, then I responded. "Be there in a minute." The suite was exactly what I expected. My mother told the story of the forgotten room like it was a charming mishap. She laughed while she told it. Made herself the punchline, briefly, before shifting the tone. "I felt terrible," she said to Mason, dabbing her mouth with her napkin.
But she's so independent. She's always been like that.
"Never needs help." Mason nodded sympathetically. "Yeah, some people are just built that way." I chewed my food slowly. Swallowed. Tessa smiled at me across the table. "You're okay though, right?" "Yes," I said. "I'm fine." And I was. Just not in the way they assumed. Back in my room later that night, I plugged my phone in and opened my laptop. This is where things changed. I hadn't come into the weekend looking for a confrontation. I'd come prepared to observe, to confirm a pattern I'd felt for years but never documented properly. What I didn't expect was how careless my mother would be once she thought the moment had passed. At 9:47 p.m., she sent a message to the family group chat, the one with extended relatives, cousins, aunts, people who liked her posts and believed her captions. "Mom, such a special night." "So glad everyone made it," Takessa replied with hearts. Mason added a wine emoji. Then, separately, my mother messaged me directly. "Mom, can you Venmo me your share for dinner?" It was $312 total. I stared at the message for a moment. Dinner had been booked for 4. She'd ordered the most expensive entree. 2 bottles of wine. I pulled up the receipt the server had left on the table. I'd taken a photo of that too, automatically. Habit. The total was $312, before tip. She was asking me to split the entire bill. I didn't respond right away. I opened Venmo, checked my history. There it was, a payment from me to her 2 weeks earlier. $860. Caption: Harbor Line weekend. I hadn't thought much about it at the time. She'd asked me to send a little toward the hotel, and I'd done it because it was easier than arguing and I assumed it covered my room. Now, with the receipt in front of me, the timeline snapped into focus. She hadn't forgotten. She'd never booked me. She'd taken my money anyway. I opened my email and searched her name. Nothing. No forwarded confirmation. No booking details. No apology buried in spam. Then I searched the hotel name. That's when I found it. An email from December 2nd, 12 days earlier. Subject line: Harbor Line reservation confirmation. It wasn't addressed to me, but I was copied. BCC Wood, actually. I clicked it open. 2 rooms. Suite. King. No third. Total amount charged to her card, $1,728. And below that, a forwarded message from her to herself, time-stamped, December 3rd, 8:14 a.m. Don't forget to have her send money. She won't notice if I say I booked it. My hands didn't shake. I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. I took screenshots, the full email thread, the headers, the timestamps, the payment confirmation from Venmo, the dinner receipt, the hotel invoice I'd requested quietly from the front desk earlier that afternoon, sent to my email, in case I needed it for work reimbursement. I labeled everything carefully. Dates, times, amounts. Then I responded to my mother's message. I'll review the receipts tomorrow, she replied almost immediately. Mom, what receipts? It's not that deep. I didn't answer. At 10:03 p.m., another message came through. Mom, are you mad? Because this is really not a big deal. I closed my laptop. I didn't sleep much that night, but not because I was upset. Because once you see the pattern clearly, you can't unsee it. And because I knew, now, that my mother had crossed from casual disrespect into something documented, something provable, something she'd never imagined being shown outside a private conversation. The key receipt wasn't just the money. It was her own words. And she had no idea I had them. Sunday morning came with fog off the harbor and the sound of doors opening and closing down the hallway. Checkout day energy. People moving faster, voices sharper, patience thinner. I woke up at 6:12 a.m., before my alarm. I didn't reach for my phone right away. I lay there, listening. Distant laughter from the suite. My mother was already awake. She always was when there was something to present. At 6:30, my phone buzzed anyway. Mom, brunch at 10. Don't be late. We're doing photos again, I replied. Okay, no questions. No commentary. In the shower, I let the water run hot and steady. I went over the timeline in my head, not emotionally, just practically. December 2nd. Reservation confirmed. 2 rooms. December 3rd. Message to herself. Intent documented. December 14th. I paid for my own room. Public witnesses. December 14th. Dinner charge request. December 15th. Brunch. Extended family invited. Yes, that part hadn't been mentioned yet. My mother loved a reveal. At 7:45 a.m., Tessa posted a story of the harbor with the caption, "Last day talk." At 8:02, my mother posted a poll. Brunch outfit, cream or navy? I dressed simply. Dark jeans, neutral sweater. Nothing that would draw attention or look defensive. I put my phone on silent and slipped a small folder into my bag. Printed copies. Old habit. Digital fails sometimes. The brunch wasn't just brunch. It was a family gathering. I found that out when I stepped into the restaurant at 9:52 a.m. and saw my Aunt Claire at the far table waving like she'd been there for hours. My cousin Mark stood near the bar with his wife. 2 other relatives I hadn't expected, people my mother liked to keep updated. The table was long, center of the room, near the windows. Of course it was. My mother stood at the head, already in her cream outfit, already directing the server. "There you are," she said when she saw me. Her smile was wide and practiced. "Everyone's been asking where you were." I nodded. "Good morning." She leaned in slightly as if to hug me, then paused. "We're all splitting the check evenly, okay? Just easier." I met her eyes. "We can talk about it after." Her smile faltered for half a second. "After what?" she asked lightly. "After brunch." She laughed. "Too loud. You're so serious." "It's the weekend." I took my seat. The conversation flowed the way it always does when my mother is hosting. Stories curated, details polished, laughter timed. She told the room how busy she'd been planning the trip. How nice it was to have everyone together. How grateful she was that both my girls made it. Someone asked about the hotel. She leaned into that too. "Oh, it's beautiful," she said. "We're in the suite." "The girls have rooms down the hall. Plural." I didn't correct her. Not yet. At 10:27, the server began taking orders. My mother ordered for the table without asking. It was efficient, confident, entitled. At 10:42, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. A Venmo notification. Mom requested $156. Caption: You're half for brunch. I didn't decline it. I didn't accept it. I let it sit. At 11:05, my Aunt Claire leaned toward me. Your mom works so hard, she said quietly. You're lucky she includes you in things. Don't. I nodded. I know. At 11:18, my mother stood and tapped her glass lightly. I just want to say, she began, how special this weekend has been. Family is everything to me, and I'm so proud of both my daughters. So independent, so capable. She looked at me when she said it. The room murmured approval. This was the moment she'd chosen. The public setting, the witnesses, the narrative already framed. I didn't interrupt. I waited until she sat back down. Then I reached into my bag and took out the folder. Not dramatically, just calmly. I placed it on the table between us. The sound it made was small, but it cut through the chatter nearby. Before we split anything, I said evenly, I need to clarify something. My mother's smile froze. I opened the folder and slid out the first page. The hotel invoice. I turned it so it faced the table, not just her. This is the reservation confirmation from December 2nd, I said. It shows 2 rooms. Not 3. A few heads turned. My mother laughed. Why are you doing this now? I didn't answer that. I slid out the next page. This is my receipt from Friday, I continued.
For the room I booked myself at check-in because there was no reservation for me.
The table had gone quiet. Tessa shifted in her seat. Mason stopped chewing. My mother leaned forward, lowering her voice. You're embarrassing yourself. I looked at her. I'm not finished. I placed the final page on top, the screenshot. Her message, the one she'd sent to herself. I didn't read it aloud. I didn't need to. I just let people read. For a moment, nobody spoke. My mother's face changed. Not dramatically, but enough. The confidence drained first, then the color. I closed the folder. I sent you $860 2 weeks ago, I said. You asked for it to cover the hotel. You didn't book my room. You kept the money. And then you asked me to pay again.
My voice didn't rise. I didn't accuse.
I stated facts. My mother opened her mouth, and that's where I stopped. Because the room had finally caught up, and the next words wouldn't need to come from me at all. My mother didn't speak right away. That was new. She'd always been fast with explanations, quick pivots, emotional appeals, jokes that blurred the edges. This time, she just stared at the folder like it might start talking on its own. Around us, the restaurant kept moving. Cutlery clinked. A server hesitated a few tables away, sensing something had shifted but not knowing why. Aunt Claire was the first to break the silence. What is that? She asked, not unkindly, just confused. I didn't answer. I didn't need to, my mother cleared her throat. This is being taken wildly out of context, she said, forcing a laugh that didn't land. You know how she is. Very literal. Very spreadsheet-brained. No one laughed with her. Tessa looked down at the screenshot again. Mom, she said quietly, did you write that?
My mother turned to her too fast.
Of course I didn't mean it like that. But you wrote it, Tessa pressed. My mother's jaw tightened. I was reminding myself to ask for money. That's all. You're twisting it. I spoke again, still calm. I'm not asking anyone to take sides, I said. I'm just not paying for things twice, and I won't be part of a story that isn't true. Mason shifted in his seat. He hadn't said a word yet, but he'd gone very still, the way people do when they realize they're standing on ground that's about to give way. Aunt Claire looked from the papers to my mother. You told us you booked 3 rooms. I did, my mother said automatically. You didn't, I said. And that's documented. The server approached cautiously. Is everything okay here? My mother waved him off too sharply. We're fine. The server glanced at the papers, then at me, then nodded and retreated. My mother leaned toward me, lowering her voice. We can talk about this privately. I shook my head once.
You made it public. That landed.
She sat back, eyes flicking around the table, recalculating. This was the part she hated, when the audience stopped nodding. So what is this? She said louder now. A setup? You wait all weekend to spring this at brunch? I waited until everyone had the same information, I said. That's all. Tessa pushed her plate away. Did you really take her money? My mother didn't answer her. She looked at me instead, her expression sharpening. You've always been like this, she said, keeping score, making everything transactional. I nodded. When money is involved, it already is. That was when Mason spoke. Did she send you the money back? He asked my mother. She looked at him like she couldn't believe he'd asked. Well, no, she said, because it was part of the weekend costs. The weekend costs you said you covered, he replied. Silence again. This one heavier. My mother's phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at it, then flipped it face down. Another buzz followed, then another. I didn't look, but I didn't have to. I knew what it was. The group chat. The extended family. Someone had taken a photo of the screenshot. At 11:31 a.m., my phone vibrated too. A text from my cousin Mark. Did she really write that? I didn't reply. I didn't need to add anything. My mother stood abruptly. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. This is not happening, she said. I am not being attacked like this. No one said she was being attacked. She grabbed her bag, hands shaking now, control finally slipping. I planned this whole weekend. I deserve some appreciation. Aunt Claire said nothing. Tessa stared at the table. Mason looked at the window. My mother turned to me one last time. You could have just talked to me. I did, I said. I asked for the confirmation. I asked for the receipts. She opened her mouth, then closed it. There was nothing left to say that wouldn't make it worse. She walked out. The aftermath wasn't explosive. It was quieter than that. Checks were split accurately. Conversations resumed in fragments. People avoided eye contact at first, then slowly relaxed as they realized there was no further performance coming. Tessa approached me near the entrance. I didn't know, she said. I really didn't. I know, I said. She hesitated. She's going to be furious. I know, I said again. Mason nodded at me once, small, respectful. I left before dessert. On the train ride home, my phone finally came off silent. Missed calls, 14. Texts, too many to count. I didn't read them all. The only one I responded to was from my mother, sent at 12:04 p.m. Mom, you made me look like a villain, I replied once. I didn't make anything. I just stopped covering for it. Then, I blocked her, for the first time in my life. Not permanently, not dramatically, just long enough. That week she sent the money back. All of it.
No message attached.
I deposited it and archived the transaction. We didn't speak for months after that. When we did, it was different. Fewer assumptions, clear boundaries, public politeness instead of private entitlement. She never apologized. She didn't have to. I had my receipts. And more importantly, I had my peace. Floor-to-ceiling windows facing the harbor. Neutral furniture arranged just so. A fruit tray on the counter with the plastic wrap half peeled back. My mother had already moved a lamp slightly to the left to improve the lighting near the couch. Tessa stood near the window, phone raised. Mason behind her with his arm around her waist. They looked comfortable. Established. Okay, my mother said, waving me in. Stand over there. No, not there. Closer. I don't want the couch arm cutting into you. She said it like she was helping me. I stood where she pointed. She took 3 photos. Then a 4th. Perfect, she said. I'll tag you. I smiled lightly. Neutral. Cooperative. At the spa, I wasn't scheduled. That wasn't a surprise either. My mother had booked a couples massage for Tessa and Mason and a facial for herself. She framed it as a misunderstanding, something she'd meant to include me in but hadn't had time to fix. You can relax in the lounge, she said. There's cucumber water, I nodded. Sat. Read a book I'd brought. While I waited, I paid attention. I always do. At 3:18 p.m., Tessa posted the photo from the suite with the caption, Family Weekend Reset, Salad Simon. I watched the comments roll in. Beautiful family goals. Love this so much. My mother responded to everyone with heart emojis. At 3:32, she posted her own version. Slightly different angle. Caption. So grateful for these moments. She tagged Tessa. Tagged Mason. Tagged the hotel. She did not tag me. I didn't mention it. At 4:10, my phone buzzed again. Mom, can you pick up the dinner reservation details? I think it's under your name. It wasn't. I knew that before I checked. But I checked anyway, because facts matter. The restaurant was booked under her name, for 4 people. At 7:30 p.m., I replied, "It's under yours. 7:30. She didn't respond. At dinner, the dynamic sharpened. It always does when there's an audience.